I remember that day like it was yesterday, the rain pounding against the stained glass windows of the Grand Cathedral, the kind of place I'd only seen in movies. My hands were trembling as I clutched the bouquet of white roses, their thorns pricking my skin through the lace gloves. The organ music swelled, and there he was, Alex, standing at the altar in his perfectly tailored tuxedo, looking every bit the prince from a fairy tale. But as I walked down the aisle, my cheap dress whispering against the marble floor, a chill ran down my spine. His smile was too perfect, his eyes too intense, like he was hiding a storm behind them. Little did I know, that moment wasn't the beginning of my happily ever after. It was the start of a nightmare that would shatter my world and leave everyone who heard about it in disbelief. Let me take you back to how it all began. My name is Elena, and I grew up in a tiny apartment on the wrong side of town, where the walls were thin and the dreams were even thinner. My mom worked 2 jobs just to keep the lights on after Dad left us when I was 5. I was the girl who served coffee at the diner, the one with grease stains on her apron and a smile that hid the exhaustion. Life was a grind, day in and day out, pouring endless cups for strangers, scraping by on tips that barely covered the rent. I had no time for romance, no illusions about Prince Charmings. That is, until Alex walked in one rainy afternoon. He was like a vision, tall, with dark hair that fell just right, and eyes that could melt steel. He ordered a black coffee, no sugar, and sat in the corner booth, scrolling through his phone. I noticed the watch on his wrist. It probably cost more than my entire year's salary. When I brought his order, he looked up and smiled, and something in me stirred. "Rough day?" he asked, his voice smooth like velvet. I laughed it off, but he kept coming back. Day after day, he'd show up, order the same thing, and we'd talk. About books, about dreams, about how the world wasn't fair, but maybe it could be. Alex was from another world, the kind with penthouses and private jets. He owned a tech company, he said, something about apps that changed lives. He never bragged, though. He made it sound normal, like anyone could do it. But I could tell he was loaded, the way he tipped, the car he drove, a sleek black Mercedes that purred like a contented cat. At first, I thought he was just slumming it, curious about the real people. But then he asked me out. A real date, to a fancy restaurant where the menu didn't have prices. I wore my best dress, the one I'd bought secondhand, and felt like an imposter. But Alex? He looked at me like I was the only person in the room. Our courtship was a whirlwind. Picnics in the park with champagne I'd never tasted, weekends at his beach house where the waves crashed like applause. He showered me with gifts, jewelry that sparkled under the lights, clothes that made me feel beautiful. But more than that, he listened. I told him about my mom's struggles, how she'd sacrificed everything for me, how I dreamed of going to college but couldn't afford it. He promised to change all that. "Elena," he'd say, holding my hand, "you deserve the world. Let me give it to you." I fell hard. Who wouldn't? But there were little things that nagged at me, even then. He'd get calls in the middle of the night and step away, his voice low and urgent. Sometimes, he'd stare off into space, like he was carrying a weight I couldn't see. When I asked, he'd brush it off with a kiss. "Business," he'd say. "Nothing to worry about." My friends warned me, he's too good to be true, Elena. Rich guys like that always have secrets. But I ignored them. Love makes you blind, doesn't it? 6 months later, he proposed. On a yacht, under a sky full of stars, with a ring that could blind you. I said yes, tears streaming down my face. The wedding planning was insane. His family insisted on the best of everything. His parents were distant, polite but cold, like they were sizing me up. His mom, with her pearls and perfect hair, pulled me aside once. "Alex has always been impulsive," she said, her eyes flickering with something I couldn't place. "Just make sure you're ready for what's coming." I thought she meant the lifestyle, the glamour. How wrong I was. The wedding day arrived, and as I said my vows, promising to love him forever, a strange unease settled in my gut. Alex's hands were clammy when he slipped the ring on my finger. The kiss was passionate, but his eyes, they held a shadow. We danced at the reception, surrounded by his wealthy friends who toasted our future. But as the night wore on, I caught him glancing at his phone, his face paling. "Everything okay?" I whispered. He forced a smile. "Perfect, my love. Absolutely perfect." Our honeymoon was in Paris, the city of love, he called it. We stayed in a suite overlooking the Eiffel Tower, sipping wine on the balcony. But even there, the cracks started showing. Alex would disappear for hours, saying he had meetings. "Work never stops," he'd laugh. But I'd find him in the bathroom, whispering into his phone, his voice strained. One night, I overheard him. "I can't keep this up much longer." She doesn't suspect, but it's getting harder. My heart raced. Who was he talking to? What didn't I suspect? When we got back home, to his mansion, now our mansion, things escalated. The house was a palace, marble floors, chandeliers that dripped like diamonds, rooms I could get lost in. But it felt empty cold. Alex hired staff, a maid, a chef, even a driver for me. "You never have to work again," he said. "Let me take care of you." At first, it was bliss. I'd lounge by the pool, read books I'd always wanted to, visit my mom and shower her with gifts. She was thrilled, but cautious. "Honey, if something feels off, trust your gut," she said. And oh, it did feel off. Strange packages arrived at odd hours, delivered by men in dark suits who wouldn't make eye contact. Alex would lock himself in his study for days, emerging looking haggard, his eyes bloodshot. I'd ask what was wrong, and he'd pull me close, murmuring apologies. "Just stress, Elena. It'll pass." But the nights were the worst. He'd wake up screaming from nightmares, sweating and trembling. When I tried to comfort him, he'd push me away gently. "Go back to sleep. It's nothing." One evening, I found a letter in his desk drawer while looking for stamps. It was crumpled, addressed to him from a law firm. My hands shook as I read it. "Regarding the estate of your late wife." Late wife? My blood ran cold. Alex had never mentioned being married before. I confronted him that night, the letter clutched in my fist. His face drained of color. "Elena, it's not what you think," he stammered. She died years ago. Car accident. I didn't want to burden you with my past. But why hide it? Why the secrecy?" He begged me to forgive him, said he loved me more than anything. We made love that night, passionate and desperate, like he was trying to erase the doubt. For a while, it worked. I pushed it aside, told myself everyone has skeletons. But then the calls started. Anonymous, in the middle of the night. A woman's voice, whispering, "He doesn't love you. He's using you." I'd hang up, terrified, but when I told Alex, he dismissed it. Prank calls. Jealous exes, maybe. His eyes said otherwise. As months passed, his health seemed to deteriorate. He lost weight, his skin paling. Doctors came and went, but he wouldn't let me in the room. "Just routine checkups," he'd say. I started noticing bruises on his arms, like from needles. Was he sick? Addicted? The suspense was killing me. I'd lie awake, heart pounding, wondering if I'd married a stranger. One day, I followed him. He left early, saying he had a meeting downtown. I took a cab, trailing his car to a rundown building on the outskirts of town. He went inside, and I waited, my pulse racing. Hours later, he emerged, looking exhausted, with a folder under his arm. When he got home, I pretended nothing happened, but that night, I snuck into his study and found the folder. Inside were medical reports, not his, but mine? Wait, no. They were for a child. A little girl named Lily. Who was Lily? My mind reeled. Did he have a daughter? From his previous marriage? Why hide her? I confronted him again, tears streaming. "Alex, please, tell me the truth." He broke down, sobbing in my arms. "Elena, I can't. Not yet. Trust me, it's for your own good." His words hung in the air like a promise or a threat. What was he protecting me from? Or was he protecting himself? The tension built like a storm. Friends whispered about us. "Did you hear? That poor girl married into money, but something's wrong." My mom begged me to leave, but I couldn't. I loved him, despite the shadows. Little did I know, the biggest shock was yet to come, something that would turn our fairy tale into a tragedy no one saw coming. As the days blurred into weeks, The mansion felt more like a prison than a home. I'd wander the halls, my footsteps echoing like accusations. Alex grew more distant, his touches fleeting, his smiles forced. We'd sit at dinner, the chef's gourmet meals untouched, and I'd catch him staring at me with a mix of love and sorrow that twisted my heart. "What's wrong?" I'd plead, reaching for his hand. He'd squeeze it, but his eyes would dart away. "Nothing you can fix, my love. Just life." I started digging deeper, unable to stop. In the attic, among dusty boxes of his family's heirlooms, I found old photo albums. Pictures of Alex as a young man, smiling with a beautiful woman, his late wife, I assumed. She had my eyes, my hair. The resemblance was uncanny. Flipping through, I saw a little girl, maybe 3 years old, with the same dark curls as Alex. Lily. There were hospital photos, too. Lily in a bed, tubes everywhere, her tiny face pale. Cancer? My stomach churned. Was this why he was so secretive? That night, I couldn't hold back. "Who is Lily, Alex?" "Your daughter." He froze, fork midway to his mouth. Tears welled in his eyes. "Yes," he whispered. "From my first marriage. She's sick. Leukemia. I've been funding her treatments. That's why the late nights, the calls." My heart broke for him. "Why hide it?" "I didn't want you to think I was using you for stability," he said. "I wanted our love to be pure." We cried together, and for the first time in months, he held me like he meant it. But even as we clung to each other, a nagging doubt lingered. The anonymous calls mentioned using me, was there more? Life shifted after that. Alex introduced me to Lily via video call. She was in a private clinic, her smile weak but bright. "Daddy's new wife," she called me, and I melted. I visited her, bringing toys and stories. She was a fighter, just like her dad. But the bills were astronomical. Alex poured everything into her care. His company was struggling, he admitted, from bad investments. That's why the packages, the meetings, investors, loans. It made sense, but why the bruises? "Injections for stress," he said. "Vitamins." Yet, the suspense didn't end. One afternoon, a woman showed up at the door, tall, elegant, with eyes like daggers. "I'm Victoria," she said, pushing past me. Alex's face went ashen when he saw her. They argued in his study, voices raised. "You can't keep lying to her," she shouted. "She deserves to know." When she left, I demanded answers. "My ex-sister-in-law," he sighed. "She's angry about the inheritance, thinks I'm mismanaging it for Lily." Plausible, but her words echoed, lying to her. My paranoia grew. I'd check his phone when he slept, finding deleted messages, cryptic emails about the plan, and timing is crucial. "What plan?" I confided in my best friend Sarah over coffee. "Elena, this sounds dangerous. Get out." But I couldn't, I was in too deep, emotionally entangled. Plus, Lily needed me now. We'd bonded, and leaving felt like abandoning her. Then came the accident. Alex was driving home late from a meeting when his car skidded off the road. He survived, barely, broken ribs, concussion. In the hospital, as I held his hand, he murmured deliriously, "Forgive me, Elena, it was all for you." For me? My mind raced. While he recovered, I searched his office again. Hidden in a safe code was our wedding date. I found documents. Adoption papers? For Lily? But they weren't for her. They were for me. What? My birth certificate altered? No, wait, photos of a young me, with parents who looked like Alex's parents? My head spun. Was this a joke? Digging deeper, a letter from a detective confirmed Elena is the biological daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Harrington, given up for adoption due to family scandal. Harrington, Alex's last name. Oh God. I confronted him as soon as he was home, papers shaking in my hands. "What is this, Alex?" "Am I your sister?" He collapsed into a chair, tears streaming. "Half-sister," he choked out. "Our father had an affair. I found out years ago, after his death. You were given away to protect the family name." My world shattered. The resemblance to his wife? She wasn't his wife in those photos, she was our half-sister too? No, wait, he explained. His first wife died, but Lily was from that marriage. The real shock, He married me to keep me close, to protect me from the family's enemies who wanted the inheritance all to themselves. But why marry? Because I fell in love, he sobbed. Truly madly. But I couldn't tell you, we're not blood-related enough for it to be wrong. But the scandal, and Lily needed the money from the trust, which only activates on marriage. It was twisted, emotional, but his love felt real. We wept together, vowing to fight the family. But deep down, doubt festered. Was it love or manipulation? The calls stopped after that, but new threats emerged, letters demanding I leave or else. Alex hired security, but I felt watched. One night, intruders broke in. Alex fought them off, getting hurt again. They're after you, he gasped. The inheritance, you're the rightful heir. Heir? Me? Turns out, our fathers will named me as the primary beneficiary, but only if claimed within a certain time. Alex had tracked me down, married me to legitimize it, but fallen in love for real. The suspense peaked when Lily's condition worsened. We rushed to the hospital, me holding her tiny hand as machines beeped. Mommy Elena, she whispered, and my heart broke. Alex paced, frantic. That's when Victoria returned, revealing more. He's lying about everything. A heated argument ensued, secrets spilling like blood. As Lily fought for life, the truth unraveled further, leading to a revelation that would change everything forever. In the sterile glow of the hospital room, with Lily's shallow breaths the only sound breaking the silence, Victoria's words hung like a noose. He's lying about everything, she repeated, her eyes locked on Alex. He looked like a cornered animal, sweat beading on his forehead despite the chill. I stood between them, my world tilting. What do you mean? I demanded, my voice barely above a whisper to not wake Lily. Victoria pulled out a folder from her bag, slamming it on the table. Alex isn't who he says he is. The marriage, the inheritance, it's all a facade. Alex lunged forward, but security held him back. No, wait, that was in my mind. Actually, he just sank into a chair, defeated. Tell her, Alex. Or I will. What spilled out next was a torrent of revelations that left me reeling. Alex wasn't my half-brother. That was a lie to cover something deeper. Our father hadn't had an affair. Alex had fabricated the adoption papers. Why? Because the real truth was darker. Alex's company wasn't just struggling, it was bankrupt, riddled with debt from bad deals and embezzlement. He'd married his first wife for her money, but after her death in that accident, the insurance paid out, but not enough. Lily's illness? Real, heartbreakingly so. But the treatments were experimental, uninsured, costing millions. That's where I came in. Alex had researched me, poor, desperate, with a clean background. He staged our meeting at the diner, the whirlwind romance, all to marry me and use me as collateral. Collateral? For what? I cried. Victoria explained, Alex had taken out a massive life insurance policy on me, post-marriage. The anonymous calls? From him, to build fear, make me dependent. The intruders? Hired actors to heighten the drama. But why? To stage your death, Victoria said softly. Make it look like an accident, collect the insurance to save Lily. My knees buckled. Alex sobbed, no, that's not it. I love you, Elena. It started as a plan, but I couldn't go through with it. That's why I delayed, why I brought you into Lily's life. Lies upon lies. Victoria was his first wife's sister, investigating the accident that killed her sibling. She believed Alex caused it for the payout. Now, with Lily dying, he was desperate enough to try again with me. But the twist? Lily wasn't even his biological daughter. She was adopted, a pawn in his schemes to evoke sympathy from investors. I fled the room, tears blinding me, running through the hospital corridors. How could I have been so blind? The love, the passion, it felt real. Was it all an act? I collapsed in the waiting area, nurses rushing to help. My mom arrived hours later, holding me as I broke down. We need to go to the police, she said. But Alex found me first, on his knees, begging. Elena, please. Lily needs a bone marrow transplant. You're a match, I checked your records. That's why I chose you. Chose me? Like a product? The medical reports I'd seen, they were real, but twisted. I was a perfect donor for Lily, discovered through his detective work. The marriage was to gain legal rights, make me family, expedite the process without questions. Emotions warred inside me: hate, love, pity. Lily was innocent, a child caught in this web. I agreed to the tests, confirming the match. But as I lay on the operating table weeks later, donating marrow that could save her, doubts plagued me. Alex visited daily, flowers in hand, remorse in his eyes. I fell in love for real, he swore. The plan changed when I knew you. Recovery was slow, painful. Lily improved, her cheeks gaining color. But the police investigation ramped up, thanks to Victoria. Evidence mounted: forged documents, suspicious transfers. Alex was arrested, the mansion seized. I moved back with Mom, the glamour stripped away, back to square one but scarred. Yet, the real twist came months later, in a letter from Alex's lawyer. Enclosed was a video, recorded before his arrest. On screen, Alex, gaunt and tearful: "Elena, if you're watching this, I'm gone. But know this, I did love you. The plan was never to hurt you. The insurance was on me, not you. I was going to stage my own death, leave you everything for Lily. But I couldn't leave you. That's why I confessed bits, to push you away, save you from the fallout." My heart stopped. Suicide notes, plans for a car accident, like his wife's, but his own. Victoria confirmed it. She'd misinterpreted it. Alex had killed his wife accidentally, in a fight over his debts, and lived with guilt. Marrying me was redemption, to save a life, Lily's, with mine as donor, and give me wealth after his death. But he couldn't do it. Love stopped him. He went to prison, but Lily thrived, adopted by Victoria. I visited him once, through glass. "Why not tell me?" I whispered. "I was afraid you'd leave." Tears flowed. Years later, I rebuilt, used the remaining funds for college, helped Mom. But the shock? Alex died in prison, heart attack. His last words, per the guard: "Tell Elena I'm sorry, and thank you." I cried for days, a mix of grief and relief. The poor girl who married the rich man? She found strength in the ruins, but the love was real, twisted as it was. It shocked everyone: friends, family, even me. Sometimes I wonder if I'd do it again. Love's a gamble, isn't it? Looking back, the aftermath of it all reshaped me in ways I never imagined. After Alex's death, the media frenzy hit like a hurricane. Headlines screamed: "Poor girl's fairy tale turns nightmare. Rich husband's dark secrets exposed." Reporters camped outside Mom's apartment, microphones thrust in my face. "How does it feel to be the widow of a con man?" they'd ask. Con man? He was flawed, broken, but the love. God, it hurt to think about. I shut myself away, therapy sessions becoming my lifeline. The counselor said I had Stockholm Syndrome, but I knew better. Alex's sacrifices, misguided as they were, saved Lily. And in a way, saved me from a life of mediocrity to one of purpose. With the settlement from his estate, clean money, ironically, I started a foundation for children's medical aid, naming it after Lily. She visited often, now a bubbly teen, calling me Aunt Elena. Victoria and I became unlikely allies, bonding over the chaos. But emotions lingered, suspenseful dreams where Alex whispered apologies. One day, sorting through his belongings they'd sent me, I found a hidden journal. Pages filled with his handwriting, detailing our story from his side. The day I saw her at the diner, Plan B damned, I knew she was the one. Entries about falling in love, aborting the suicide plan, struggling with guilt. The last: "If I can't have her, at least she'll be free. Forgive me, my love." Tears soaked the pages. The twist? Buried in the journal was a key to a safety deposit box. Inside, deeds to properties, stocks, all in my name, predating our marriage. He'd planned to give me everything from the start, not after death. The plan was to fake his disappearance, not death, but love made him stay. It shocked me to my core, moving me to tears in that bank vault. Alex wasn't a villain. He was a man drowning in debt and despair, who found light in me. I sold some assets, donated others, but kept the beach house, our happy place. Life moved on. I dated sparingly, trust shattered but mending. Mom remarried a kind man, and we laughed about my adventure. But at night, I'd stare at the stars, whispering to Alex, "I forgive you." The story shocked everyone because it wasn't black and white love amid lies, redemption and ruin. If you're listening, remember, sometimes the richest hearts are the poorest in fortune. Thank you for listening to my story. Please don't forget to share, subscribe, and comment.